So we have the potatoes over there. We got 2 rows over there. We got 2 rows over there going for the sweet potatoes or whatever. And then we have 2 rows right here. And these are gold mine string beans. I've dug down in there to see if they're doing any good. You know, they're germinating. Because the seeds are old, I put probably about 4 or 5 in there. And I dug down in there. And I do find 1 or 2 seeds. So it's early. I still got time to plant if they do not come up. So the method that I use on this row right here, on that, and that down there, is that I get a length. And this is about 3.5 feet. It's just a pole. This right here, the marker right here is 3 feet in case I want to go 3 feet. And so once I start my row, then I lay that down, and this is going to be my guide for my next row. So I have a rebar right here, I have a string on here, and then I go down there to the very end, and then I take this pole right here, and I lay it just like that on the opposite end, and then I push my rebar pole here down into the ground, and then that's where I'm going to start my row at. That's going to be my guide right there, is that string. The tools that I use is this rake right here. And then I have this right here is one of my favorite. It's got 2 prongs on one end and like a little hoe on the other end. And these are my favorite. This is how I did these other rows right here. On this row right here, I use the same method. Lay my pole down. Give me a guideline. And then I put my rebar pole there, stake, and my string once again. And on this row right here, I did it a little bit differently. So I used my Hoss wheel hoe here. We see the stake, we see the string down there in the middle, and I keep pushing that till it goes all the way to the end down there. So it gives me a guide. Then I took this rake and I go on both sides. And I go on both sides and just rake the dirt up to make me a little mound, to make me a hill. Now I did it a little bit heavier in this. I don't need much more dirt on there, but you get the point that now I have a row. The other rows here, I use a different technique because the wheel hoe is pretty expensive, and so, you know, I haven't never used it that much because I end up going back to the method I've always used for years and years and years. And that method is, you can do it different ways, but I like to take this 2-prong right here, stick it up under my string, and I literally dig a furrow, which is giving me a guideline for my heel. The ground has been tilled up, so it makes it really simple and easy. Doing it this way, I don't have to really look where I'm going. I just stick it up under there. Every now and then, I'll take it out, see where my string's at. Okay, so now I've got a marking here, and this will go all the way. I'll go all the way to the end of the row. Then I'm going to take my rake here. Once I got this little furrow here, it's going all the way down to the end of the row. I'm going to remove my rebar stake, and this string, I'm just going to push it over and then get it out of the way, and then I'm going to start making me a row. It's a lot easier if the string is out of the way. The height of your row is up to you. And that's how simple it is to get a row. So that's one method I use. Today I'm using the rebar. Now if you leave your string there, it still gives you a guide to see if it's straight. Now rows don't have to be straight. But I've been doing this for years and years and years, and it works every time. So if you don't have a tractor, which I got a tractor, I just don't have time to get the implements hooked up. But this is, if you want to garden, a small garden, or just whatever size garden you want, this is a method here to get your garden started. First you till up the garden. You're going to amend the ground. You could till it up and then amend it, then till it up. It's up to you. And then, since the ground is soft, then I can easily go forth and make my rows. But if you have a wheel hoe, you can use this method. This method right here, you still got a little hill there if you just want to do it that way. But I like to take my rake and then take that dirt that's loose again and make my hill even more so, because when the rains come and the winds, then I've still got a hill there and I'm not trying to find my hill. So we see a little hill there. Now the wheel hoe honestly it seems to be harder, but it might be even a little bit faster, but both methods work. But I will say the wheel hoe, it is a good workout. So this stake here, I'm just going to slide it over. Then I'm going to go to the end and move it over down there. Just going to get it out of the way. So we see where that one's mound up with the rake, done by these two right here. And then we see where this is beginning with the wheel hoe. And I'm going to take the rake and put some of that dirt up again to make me a hill. Now we got a row. Now I was doing it faster than I usually do, so that took about a minute and a half I think these are about, I can't remember if it's 50 or 70 foot rows. But you see, we've got a row there, all the way down. So what I'm going to be planting into this one row right here is squash, a variety of squash. So I think even if we got a frost, we still got enough time. The soil temperature is starting to warm up. We were 72 today, so I imagine this soil temp is probably about 50, low 50s at this point in time. So I'm going to be planting a variety of squash because I'm not going to be seed saving. If you're going to be seed saving, you want to plant one variety, because if you don't, they'll cross-pollinate. So I will be planting a new type of squash. It's Hybrid Enterprise squash. And the reason I'm planting these because I've had them for a couple years, and I want to go ahead and get them in the ground. They're supposed to be a straight neck type squash that's got a creamy flavor. I'm going to also be planting the Spineless Beauty zucchinis. I got a few seeds left over here, a couple seeds in there I could fill, and then I picked up, and those are by Hoss Tools, and then I picked up some Fairy Moore's squash. It's called summer squash, but it's the Black Beauty zucchinis. And then I also have a couple seeds that are a yellow zucchini, and they grow really well. These are from Burpee, summer squash, the golden zucchini, and they grow really well. The only thing is you got to be sure you mark it, because I've had a problem one time. I was like, that squash kind of looks funny. Well, they were zucchini. They kind of look like zucchini. And then I got a hybrid summer squash. It's a 49er hybrid, but it says summer squash, so it's probably the same as the other summer squash. It looks a little bit different onto the package. This one shows a little bit of greenery, but it says the 49ers, and this is a hybrid. That's why you don't want to, if you're going to save seeds, you don't want, when you get all this mixture of types of squashes, you definitely don't want to be saving seeds. It might come out good the first year, but the second year is definitely going to prove that it's not true to its seed. So this is a winter squash. It's cream of the crop. I got a few last year off of this. This was pretty good type of squash. And then I have a Clemente squash. It's from Hoss Tools. Hoss Tools puts this one out, and a subscriber sent this to me from Virginia. I planted these last year, and they did really well, and I do like the taste of them. It reminds me of a zucchini and a regular squash. And see, we've got I planted last year some Waltham butternut squash. Most people just call them butternut squash. They did really well. And I cut the vines. If I don't want the vines running everywhere, I'll just cut the vines, and it produced me more than enough. I really like these, and I canned some of these butternut squash. And so that's what we're going to be planting. I'm trying to see if I got any more. So this is what I'm going to be planting today. Now, the thing about squash is that they all plant the same. So it takes 7 days to germinate. The depth of sowing is 1 inch. Seed spacing is 4 inches. Is that 4 inches? That can't be right. Okay, that's 4 feet. A row spacing 6 to 8. Now mine's about 4 feet. But that is for the butternut squash. So we definitely have to think about the spacing. Most of the spacing is between 18, from one plant to the other is around 18 to 24 inches. And then most of these squashes, the spacing into the rows is 5 or 6 feet. I've always gone 4 feet. I never have a problem. If my leaves get in the way, I just trim out some of the leaves. It also helps out with powdery mildew at a certain time of the year of the garden season, because when you get a lot of rains here on the southeast coast of North Carolina, we can start getting powdery mildew. So cutting out some of those leaves, not only does it put the nutrients to the plant, but it also helps with that powdery mildew. So we're gonna go ahead and get these planted, and on here it said it was 7 to 14 days to germinate. On one of them it says 1/2 inch, and so one of them said 1 inch. So I usually go about a 1/2 inch. The reason for that is because these seeds, the soil settles, it's been cultivated, it's been tilled up, and the soil settles and the seed drops. So I try to go, you know, 1/2 inch or 1 inch, somewhere around there, because I know this seed's going to drop. That's why I was checking my seeds over here to see if I can find them. And I could tell, even though I planted them about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch, they still drop down. So if they get too deep, then your seeds are more likely not going to germinate, or they'll be slow germinating, slow coming up. So let's get planted. So this Enterprise, hybrid Enterprise, when I looked at the back of it, it said how to start seeds with vine crops. You know, that means like cucumbers and gherkins and gourds and melons and pumpkins, and you know, so I was debating on whether to sow these until I do some more research, but I guess I'll go ahead and sow them. And I'm going to sow these approximately about 24 inches. And I'm going to sow these about 1 inch deep. I'm going to make a little hole here. I'll show you how to do that. And the temperature of these when you sow these is going to be at least around 70 degrees, and that's where we're at right now. And you want to, if you're going to do it inside, then you're going to sow it, you know, 4 to 6 weeks before the last frost date. But the thing of it is, when it comes to squash and certain types of melons, they can't really take a whole lot of transplant shock. So I like to direct sow mine. And so I'm just going to make I'm not going to dig too deep. I'm just going to make a little hole, go about 24 inches. And I know the sun has just moved. That was closer than I wanted it to be, but so I know the sun has just moved. So see if we can get a quick shot. There's a little hole. There's a hole. There's a little hole. I'm not going too deep. Every time I dig these little holes, I think about my grandma, because I was out there in the garden with her, and I can still see her doing that. So I go off on what my grandma did. It's not very deep. It's probably up to there. And then I'm going to take about 3 seeds. Grandma always sowed about 3 seeds to every hole. And that's what I've always done. That's what I'm going to continue doing. The reason you sow 3 seeds is so because you're anticipating germination. You try to space the seeds out just a little bit, because some of the seeds might go deeper than we planned on it. Now, another way of doing this is to have your heel and take these seeds and push them down like that. You can do it like that, but I prefer to do it this way because it's something I've always done. Now, when I cover these, I'm not going to pile the dirt up onto it. I'm just going to sprinkle some dirt over it, which is going to mount up to about 1 inch deep. 1/2 inch deep, more than likely 1 inch deep. I try to go 1/2 inch sometimes because I know these seeds are gonna seed down in the soft dirt. We got 2 in there. We'll just leave it. And I just barely mash that soil down, just making soil to soil contact. And here's a seed that I dropped. Looks like I dropped another one. Nope, so here's a seed I dropped. So this last one, I'm just gonna stick it in there, go about 1 inch, and that's it. So I continue going down here, sowing the rest of these squash seeds. Now, when you're planting a variety of squash, like I do every year, I like to use these tags. I got these off of Amazon, and I have a permanent marker that I write on here, so I can find out what I did with it. A permanent marker. Here it is in my pocket. And this is it's a garden marker. So it's it's good for the sun. It's water and fade resistant, outdoors use. So this is a really good marker. You don't have to worry about your name tags fading. So when I stop, I'll put a tag right there, and then I'll start another area, but I'll put another tag of a variety of seeds I'll be sowing. So we got all of our squash planted. We really didn't have enough room because I put more summer squash, as yellow zucchini and yellow squash in there than I planned on it. The golden zucchini, I was trying to use up some seeds. And then we came down here with the butternut, and we really didn't have room for them. But I put them in there anyhow. I put 3 places for those to come up. And if you put like 3 seeds, or how many seeds you decide to put, because my aim is just to get them to germinate and get it to come up. And then I can thin out. I can take a pair of scissors and cut out the seedlings that I don't want. It gives me opportunity to pick out my strongest seedlings. And so there you have it. We've got our row made. We've got our squash planted. That's more squash than I'll probably know what to do with. But I'll find a way to use them. I definitely will. But this is how I plant my rows. And with just a little bit of time, you'll have a garden made. Now we just got to wait for this gold mine beans to come up. See if they, I'll keep checking onto them. It's kind of dry right now. We had all this rain. This is the potatoes right here. We had all this rain, and you can see the algae onto the soil. And then we had all this pollen. And so the pollen's been really bad. But if they don't come up, then I got still opportunity to plant those. So squash is planted, and this row right here, I accidentally skipped it, so that's okay. I'm glad I got 2 rows made up this afternoon because I've got some brassicas that need to be planted. So that's a place right there. They're ready to get into the ground, so I know what I'll be doing. See you on to the next video.